Director, Affiliated Institution, Professor Imam Oyewole. You're welcome, sir. Professor Imam Oyewole Yaya. Thank you very much. I've been told we have Professor Jacob Olusegun Adoniyi in the house, retired professor of physics. Daddy, you're welcome. So good to have you around. And so also we have Olushola Ajolore. Thank you, sir. So good to have you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry if I'm here to mention your name. Even if I don't mention it at all, the Vice Chancellor will definitely recognize your presence here. But please, just forgive me because I've been reported to myself before. So just pardon me. It's because of things I have to do here and because of the time at my disposal. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, we want to appreciate and welcome all of you. It's been a very long journey for us as a university. We are 50, as you can see. Please, let's appreciate the University of Ilorin. I mean the Better by Try University, the most subscribed to university, your university of choice. You are tired already, parasites. So from 1975, ever since we had the establishment of the school, we've always, been working so hard to ensure that we have an edge over other universities in the world. And these we have maintained. And in 1979, the 15th of February of 1979, we had the very first inaugural lecture of this university. It was delivered on that day by one of our distinguished professors from the Department of Linguistics. He was one of the founding fathers of the faculty. And it will interest you that the faculty is one of the foundation faculties of this university. So we had the inaugural lecture of this university from that department and from the faculty on the 15th of February 1979. If you do your calculation, 1979 to this time, I think that is 46 years ago. And after that very first lecture, over 274 other professors have delivered theirs, and making 275 as at the last count. And today we are here to build on that figure to make it 276. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to implore you to listen attentively to what Professor Segun Oyeleke Oyewo has for us today. But at the level of the faculty, so far we've had 32 professors from that faculty out of the 275. 32 of them from that faculty, to deliver their inaugural lecture. And so Professor Oyewo will be the 33rd lecturer from the faculty. And from the department, we've had Professor Zulu Shofola, we've had Professor Akiwale, we had Professor Nasir Akaji, Professor Abdurrashid Abiodun Adeoye, Professor Solomon Ikibe, Professor Jalil Olasunkomi Ujuade. Those are the 6 lecturers so far from the department. Thank you for clapping. You can do that better. So today's lecture, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the 276th in the series, the 33rd from the faculty, and the 7th from the department. And the lecture of today has been entitled, the title of today's lecture is Imagine a World Without Theater and Its Realities on the Stage and the Environment in Nigeria. And this is what Professor Segun Oyeleke Oyewo is coming to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we all rise to welcome the procession of the Vice Chancellor? And please, no more movements. Do not stand in the way of the procession and do not cross the procession. And no exchange of pleasantries with the procession. We remain standing as we observe the university anthem.
Let me, on behalf of Senate, welcome all of us to the 276th inaugural lecture of our great university, University of Ilorin, titled Imagine a World Without Theater, Past, Present and Future Realities of Theater and the Environments in Nigeria, to be delivered by Professor Segun Oyeleke Oyewo of the Department of the Performing Arts. Professor Segun Oyeleke Oyewo was born on 12 November 1955 in Oyewo local government of Oyo State. He attended Baptist High School, Ejigbo, Osun State between 1968 and 1972 for his secondary school education. He thereafter gained admission to study theatre arts at the University of Jos in 1976 and gained a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1980. He obtained his Masters of Arts degree in Theatre Arts and PhD in Theatre Arts from the University of Ibadan in 1984 and 2000, respectively. He joined the service of the University of Ibadan in 1988 as an assistant lecturer in the Department of the Performing Arts and rose through the ranks to become a professor in 2020. Professor Oyewo has successfully supervised 16 MA dissertations and 3 PhD theses, while 2 are in progress. He is a member of many learned and professional bodies, including Fellow, Institute of Human and Natural Resources, International Museum Theatre Alliance, European Center for Research, Training and Development, United Kingdom, National Council for Black Studies, United States of America, National Association of Nigerian Theatre Arts Practitioners, Association of Nigerian Authors, Society of Nigerian Theatre Arts, among many others. Professor Oyewo has discharged several administrative responsibilities at the department, faculty, and university, as well as outside of the university, and this includes current head, Department of Performing and Film Arts, Chairman, Ilorin Drama Village Subcommittee of Ilorin Lakeside Resort and Drama Village Committee 2023 to date, Staff Advisor, Performing Arts Students Association 1991 to 1993, Foundation Head, Department of Theatre Arts and member of Senate Investor of Africa to Oyewo 2018 to 2019, visiting lecturer, Department of Theatre and English, Reinhardt University, Waleska, Georgia, United States of America. Artistic Director, Opera for the Omojola for French Institute for Research in Africa, University of Ibadan, 1994, to mention but a few. Professor Oyewo has 38 publications in reputable home-based, national and international journals, edited conference proceedings and chapters in books. He has been external examiner to many universities across Nigeria. He has also attended many conferences, workshops, and seminars, including the 37th International Conference Society of Nigerian Theatre Arts Artists, Federal University, Lokoja, 2024, the 9th Annual Conference of the Association of West African University, Awawo, at the University of Cape Coast, Ghana, 2024, Conference of Africa and Afro-Caribbean Performance, University of California at Berkeley, USA, 2008. 50th Annual Conference, International Federation for Theatre Research, Stellenbosch, Republic of South Africa, 2007, among many others. Professor Segun Oyeleke is happily married, and the union is blessed with children. Let me, on behalf of all of us, invite Professor Segun Oyeleke to deliver the 2017 inaugural lecture. Congratulations.
the Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Deputy Vice Chancellor Management Services, Deputy Vice Chancellor Research Technology and Innovation, the Registrar, the Bursar, the University Librarian, the Provost College of Earth Sciences, Deans of Faculties, particularly Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Dean of Postgraduate School, Dean of Student Affairs, professors and other members of Senate, directors of units, head of departments, members of staff, academic and non-teaching staff, distinguished students of the Department of the Performing and Film Arts, students of the University of Ilorin, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this is a great day, and coincidentally, it is the World Theatre Day. An important day to fulfill a significant dictate of the academic world, the tradition of the inaugural lecture. The inaugural lecture provides an opportunity for professors to introduce their work and themselves to the university community. Therefore, lectures from our professors focus on past, present, and at times feature contributions to the field and personal reflections and memories. After my secondary school education in Ejigbo Baptist High School, I secured a job as a news assistant trainee with Radio Nigeria Ibadan. This marked the commencement of my exposure to theater as a profession and informed my decision to go for a certificate program in speech, acting, and movement at the University of Ibadan in 1976. I later gained admission to study theater arts at the University of Jos in 1976 and graduated with a BA Hon second class upper division in 1980. I secured appointment as a cultural officer too in 1982 with the Oyo State Council for Arts and Culture and rose to become a cultural officer one before gaining appointment at the University of Ilorin as an assistant lecturer in 1988 with an MA from the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Ibadan in 1984. The academic journey culminated in the award of a PhD of the same university in year 2000. The academic journey was interspersed with practical professional participation. I was also opportune to spend my sabbatical year at the University of Africa, Truro, as the foundation head of Department of Theatre Arts in the 2018-2019 academic session. The journey so far culminated in supervision of many MA dissertations and PhD theses. In addition to the myriad of BA long essays projects from 1989, I feel highly honored to give this inaugural lecture today. It is the 276th in this university and the 7th in the Department of Performing Arts, but the 4th in the area of theater management in the department. The 6 inaugural lectures presented in this department are by late Professors Sulu Shofola and Ayobami Olubunmi Akinwale, Professor Isaac Akanji Nasiru, Professor Abdurrashid Abiodun Adeoye, Professor Solomon Oziakono Ikibe, and Professor Olasunkami Ojuade. Mr. Vice Chancellor, late Professor Joel Adeyinka Adedeji was the first African to give an inaugural lecture in the thespian arts. He examined the topic, the theater in an African university, appearance and reality, in 1978 in the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Ibadan. Since that presentation, at a period when there were only 6 theatre departments in the entire country, The theater in various nomenclatures has increased phenomenally in both public and private universities and in other tertiary institutions in Nigeria. The names of many of these departments have been changed from theater, dramatic arts, to theater and film arts, theater and media arts, performing and film arts, and so on. Mr. Vice Chancellor, this lecture is an opportunity for me to profess before the diverse and erudite assembly on a topic whose matter and manner of necessity not restricted to the ivory tower. Mr. Vice Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, this inaugural lecture is titled Imagine a World Without Theater and its realities on the stage and the environment in Nigeria. A saying that an artless society is a heartless society highlights the significance of arts, including theater, in bringing emotional depth, empathy, and humanity to society. Without art, the society risks becoming soulless and disconnected. We cannot fathom a world without theater because theater has the power to educate, entertain, and inspire. A world without theater will also have impact on education because it is an essential tool for education promoting critical thinking, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Theater often serves as a platform for social commentary, activism, and advocacy, and this will be severely diminished without it. However, according to Kaplan, quoted in Hampton in 2008, the arts enrich, transform, and even save lives. The arts are essential to life, but in a different level of reality from food and air. One can live without the arts, one hardly does. An age-long recognition of the theater manager as someone who is knowledgeable in the arts with which he is concerned, a continuing student of the arts, makes the field of theater management relevant to all the areas of specialization in the theater. This is evident by the spread of the contribution of this lecturer to cover virtually all the areas of specialization in the theater. The field of theater identifies two schools of thoughts and approaches in the training of a theater manager: the creative and the bureaucratic school of training. The creative school presupposes that a theater person completes his training in the arts of theater with specialization in all or any of the arts of the theater, and thereafter specializes in theater management at a professional level. The bureaucratic school is the opposite of this, whereby trained managers go for training in the field of theater to familiarize with the chosen arts they wish to manage. The theater profession shows preference for the creative school because of its peculiarity and nature. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is imperative at this juncture to clarify some terms and concepts to bring them into proper perspective in this lecture. The stage, environment, arts cultural management, arts administration, and reality. The stage refers to both the performance space and the theater production. Hence, the Nigerian stage transcends the performance space and includes the various theater forms across the physical and the virtual environments. The Nigerian stage, therefore, connotes the performance venue and the media, the performances, and the play performance-making process as theater. Environment. The environment of the theater in Nigeria encompasses various dimensions that impact the overall experience of theater practitioners, an audience consisting of the secular, spiritual, virtual, psychological, and physical environments. The impact of technology on the organization, including digital marketing, online ticketing, and social media, are also germane to the development and management of the theater in Nigeria. Understanding these environments are essential for appreciating the complexities and nuances of the theater and its management in Nigeria. Arts management is inextricably linked with cultural management and arts administration. According to 2020, arts management is not only about management, it is primarily about the arts. A Janus syndrome of looking both ways should be followed. But the view towards managerial and economic aspects of the field is something arts managers have in common with general managers, while the view towards the artistic, the aesthetic, and the social is the main factor that differentiates arts management from the field of general management. Cultural management, on the other hand, is the management of cultural institutions, heritage sites, and cultural festivals. Arts administration concentrates on the operation and administrative aspects of managing artistic organizations and programs. Then it is managing day-to-day operations, financing, and personnel of arts organizations. In summary, arts management focuses on the artistic and strategic aspects. Cultural management focuses on cultural heritage and focus on operation and reality. Quality of the transformation of the environment of the arts and the environment, the environment Real primary and secondary reality extending the secondary reality. It has physical in theater, rural theater outreach to cultural diplomacy. After writing a project on a survey of NTA Jos audience in Plateau State in 1988, I proceeded for a master's degree in the University of Ibadan and graduated with a dissertation titled Theater Outreach Towards Social Development of Rural Areas in Oyo State, a case study of Awe, which is my hometown. This focuses on the rural community. This focus on the rural community marked my incursion into theater scholarship. The dissertation recognized the need to develop a set of strategies aimed at accelerating the availability and social functions of theater in rural communities. From this rural focus, my scholarship moved to the international arena with a PhD thesis titled The Role of the Theater in the Development and Management of Cultural Diplomacy in Nigeria. As a study in theater management, it reveals that theatrical productions cannot be left out in Nigeria's cultural diplomacies. This, according to Oyewo, is because theater exhibits Nigeria's cultural wealth and could make subtle but profound statements in the issue of foreign policy and in international relations. The thesis therefore focused on the study of administration, management, and artistic analysis, evaluation and appraisal of the cultural agreements and theater performances. The Federal Department of Culture and National Troupe of Nigeria were used as case studies, and the table below itemizes the various interventions. Table 2 also summarizes the main position of the agencies, offering suggestions as to what effects such might have on the mission goals of the public agencies. These studies are in physical cultural diplomacy. And physical cultural diplomacy has a lot of advantages. Face-to-face interactions foster deep emotional connections and understanding. Ododo articulates the role of the National Theatre 2022 and the National Troupe as the mobile tool taking Nigeria's cultural expressions within and outside the country, and also bringing back home elements from other countries. It concludes that the agencies cannot be left without a clear framework of operation because of their central position in internal and external cultural administration in Nigeria. The limitedness of theater performance to a particular time or space is the selling point for live performance. However, in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic, like it did to many industries, brought the theater industry to a standstill. This is not the first time the existentiality of theater will be threatened. When one observes the effect of different technological changes that theater has experienced and how these changes continue to shape consumers' behavior, when we understand why theater continues to survive, it has been observed that at every time the existentiality of theater has been threatened, the theater has complained, re-strategized, and emerged stronger. Recent development in the internet and virtual space has significantly modified the direction of theater in cultural diplomacy, which is in the digital era involves using technology to promote cultural exchange, understanding, and cooperation between nations. Well-made films, for instance, offer foreigners deep understanding of the culture of the country of interest, immersing them in the culture, language, sight, sounds of a nation when a field trip is not feasible. However, digital cultural policy can exhibit some weaknesses. And that is the more reason why the live virtual theater can only be complementary but not mutually exclusive. A number of my scholarly contributions and presentations over the years address the issue of theater in cultural diplomacy. Some of the works are Oyewo 2004's appraisal of Nigeria's cultural agreements and the theater that adopt the performance evaluation method in the assessment of basic cultural agreements with foreign countries, programs of cultural exchange, and selected theater productions used in Nigeria's cultural diplomacy. Oyesoro's 1999 Cultural Future, Unity in Diversity, the Theater in Nigeria's Cultural Diplomacy, attempts to establish the discussion on the manifestation of theater in cultural diplomacy. The paper opines that the nation could not or should not attempt to fuse the culture of the country into one, as was attempted in some state productions in Nigeria's cultural diplomacy program. Rather, the conclusion is that unity in diversity in the various cultures will be a better option in the use of theater in Nigeria's cultural diplomacy. Other works in the field of cultural diplomacy are Oyewo's Ipsy and Oshofis and the Experimenter, Links and Connections in the Nigerian Norwegian Theater, and Oyewo's 2007 Throwing Stones into the Market, the Theater and Cultural Diplomacy in Nigeria. In both papers, selected plays of Oshofis were used in interrogating the aspects of theater in cultural diplomacy. The differences in the selected play are more in the aesthetic and cultural devices used in communicating the message rather than in the themes. In conclusion, the theater is one potent means of achieving dialogue and is most suited to help the search for a more cordial relationship and understanding between Nigeria and other countries. In a presentation by Oyewo 2024, on exploring the links and connections in African diaspora theater towards the didactic and pedagogical understanding of African culture, this lecturer reviewed one of the things that can sound the death knell on theater in the African continent if not addressed. While battling with stereotypes and shibboleth assault from non-Africans, African theater and culture suffer painfully from lack of understanding by fellow Africans who are supposed to know better. There is therefore a strong need to use theater to explore links and connections within the African diaspora for the preservation of African culture through a more creative experience, collaboration among African artists and universities. Another reality. One other reality where the theater has strong potential is the reality of the mentally ill persons addressed in Oyewo's 2019 being psychometamemesis, drama and theater in the therapeutic intervention and management of mental illness. This paper focuses on the therapeutic potential of drama and theater in the treatment of aberrant psychological behavior, particularly functional conditions of mental illness or disorder. The assumption is that psychometamemesis has a strong potential for treating mental illness because the world of the theater is controlled in its own reaction to disequilibrium created in the universe. Oyewo 2019b, this process is the appropriation of the play production process. The table shows the appropriation of the and comparison between Michael Etterton's play creation process schema and Oyewo's metamemesis, psychometamemesis. Oyewo 2019, in a paper titled Examining the New Role of Arts Administration in Counter-Terrorism in Nigeria, opined that the strategy to counter terrorism also requires non-military dynamics such as attitudinal change, discourses, and dialogue, which can be propelled by arts administration. The focus of this intervention, however, is on non-state terrorism. Although arts and its administration has a greater role to play in a new world order plagued by terrorism, the theater has largely brought about the danger of romanticizing terrorism by treating its theme as an aesthetic category in performance and the arts. More structured art programs can be organized by arts administration to be effective in curbing terrorism. Managing theater and the environment. The issue of the environments have been addressed by me in some scholarly articles. For example, Managing Dance Theatre and the Environments, Text, Performance, and the Audience in Nigeria. Examine dance theatre performance and the physical and spiritual environment of the performance and audience. The paper focused on the spiritual experience of some performers and audience members during the production of a dance theatre, Rhythm of Life by Ijoma Akunna. It explores, the paper concludes that though theatre has to do with aesthetic representation of reality, the word represented and encoded to be decoded in performance affect the environment of the dramatist, performer, and audience. A proper understanding of the source material of these contemporary plays performances is the only way to control the ethereal forces properly, because a lack of understanding will only lead to inadvertent territorial violation that will unlock a power beyond the control of the producer, the manager, choreographer, dance strategist, and dramatist. The producer, manager, choreographer, and director must channel the creative energy for positive ends. We advocate non-realistic production styles for culture-based stories or plays to prevent detonating the invocatory tendencies inherent in such schemes and the resultant productions and its impact on the psychic, spiritual environment, spiritual environment of the performers and audience. The spiritual environment also plays a significant role in another paper, Oyewo 2000, titled Theatre Management in Nigeria, Western Principles and Nigerian Reality. The paper explored the limitation of Western principles within the socio-cultural reality in Nigeria and concludes that some practices become more potent because of non-adaptability of some Western principles. It is, however, unfortunate that any attempt to revive an African past was either culturally suspect or simply referred to as being diabolical. That's Soyinka, quoting Soyinka. Poverty and ethics in the Nigerian theatre. Poverty is one great challenge that can afflict the theatre to extinction, while poor ethical standard can cause estrangement between theatre and the audience. Theatre entrepreneurship has to interrogate the relationship between theatre ethics and poverty to evolve a panacea that will remove theatre practitioners from the pangs of poverty without sacrificing its professional, moral, and political and ethical standards. The relationship between poverty, ethics, and theatre entrepreneurship in Nigeria. Entrepreneurship is a solution for poverty in the theatre profession. And that theatre as a form of business in Nigeria has thrived on the pedestal of entrepreneurship is evident in the numerous repertory theatres that were and are mostly owned, coordinated, and managed by sole proprietors. The survival rate and viability of Nigerian contemporary theatre offers a very strong reason that success is, in practice, is directly proportional to high moral codes of ethics by the theatre troops. Another category of theatre entrepreneur is the late Jimmy Solanke. Jimmy Solanke's area of expertise or competence include acting. His multi-competencies. This, until his death, he worked with his music band and was passionately developing an art center called Center for Creative Performing Arts and Enlightenment in Ipararemo, Ogun State, Nigeria. This center is to serve as a finishing school for graduates of theater arts schools and departments, and to employ the apprenticeship internship system. It focuses on enhancement and not essentially theoretical, mainly practical, while utilizing the home theater culture that has been the hallmark of Jimmy Solanke's performing outfit. I strongly believe that theater practice in Nigeria can be successful without foreclosing strong ethical practices. Producers, theater managers, artists have to refine their responsibility to the peculiar public nature of the theater profession. It is crucial to know that the entrepreneurial approach set on strong moral principles in the arts and culture offer viable alternatives to the weakness of the pure and unethical practices of poverty alleviation. As mentioned earlier, a world without theater would have far-reaching consequences affecting individuals, communities, and society as a whole. A world without theater is beyond lack of theater, but suggests the demise of good theater when the theater is reduced to the banal, to sheer amusement as a result of television and new media intervention. Postman 1984, while writing about the era of television, opines that what afflicted the people was not that they were laughing instead of thinking, but that they did not know what they were laughing about and why they had stopped thinking. In essence, theater can die when it is reduced to vaudeville, to sheer show business. However, arts management can come to the rescue through programs and programming that will balance commercial reality with artistic challenge and social responsibility. Vice Chancellor, sir, we can now discuss briefly past, present, and future realities of the theater in Nigeria. The past realities are divided into the traditional, the colonial, and the post-colonial. The traditional Nigerian theater is total and holistic in outlook, combining music, dance, drama, and other arts. And then the colonial witnessed establishment of Western form of theater and theater structures, while the post-colonial further brought in a further transformation of drama, establishment of drama school. The first drama school in Ibadan in 1963 was the first post-colonial school experiment. Other significant developments during this post-colonial are the emergence of the national theater movement, aiming to promote Nigerian culture and identity through theater, establishment of national theater and the national troupe to promote and develop Nigerian theater, amongst others. Present reality. There is a proliferation of theater programs in universities in Nigeria, with attendant increase in admission as a result of the influence of Nollywood film industry. Funding, infrastructure, audience development, and technological advancement are some of the challenges facing Nigerian theater, especially the live theater. In spite of this, however, there is a renewed global interest in the Nigerian live theater, with productions like Death and the King's Horseman as recent as February 2025. New trends are also emerging in digital theater through digital platforms, enabling Nigerian theater companies to reach global audiences through online performances. Nigerian theater companies are experimenting with virtual reality experiences, providing immersive and interactive experiences for audience. Theater culture in Lagos is a trailblazer in this regard. Future realities. There's a renaissance in the art of culture in Nigeria, a resurgence of interest in past civilization, cutting across the art of dance, drama, music, visual arts, and craft. These developments suggest the reality of the future of theater and calls for a true representation of the culture, authenticity, and not distortion, so as to avert the danger of it degenerating to atavism, to sheer show business. I foresee a future where these distortions and inadvertent misrepresentation in the global community will become the face of African culture through the theater, primarily for pecuniary gains, emphasizing commercial reality above social responsibility. On the more positive note, however, the theater of the future will also have a strong section that sets out to genuine renaissance and, interestingly, it will be a theater widely acceptable by the local audience. The solution to bridge the dichotomy is to prevent informed account of the culture in both local and foreign representation in performance. Well-being of theater practitioners. A significant component of the theater profession has suffered neglect, and that formed the basis of my research into the health situation of the practitioners themselves. I conducted a survey in collaboration with health professionals on the mental health and the total well-being of the artists. The field of the theater or performance arts is one that passes through a lot of stressful situations and experience burnout by its very nature, and there has been reported cases of sickness and premature death related to the theater among theater professionals. Stressful conditions are prevalent in such settings as interpersonal conflict, exposure to religious potent scripts, noise pollution, fame, loss of privacy, and income competition. MB1 and CGHQ12 are the instruments we employ to study the burnout and stress reactions among select professional artists in Nigeria and in the USA. These invariably invariably leads to specific mode of action and policies such as reduced hour of work, improved remuneration system, health insurance system for artists, among others, are expected to douse the burnout and manage the stress syndrome effectively among artists. Dominic Afolabi Musa and Oyewo carried out research on gender issues and theater performance in promoting wellness among artists. The empirical study examined the relationship between gender issues and performance in the theater with the sole aim of promoting wellness among artists. The findings revealed that performance in theater promotes health and wellness of artists. The following conclusions were drawn from the study that gender equality exists among artists. Theater performance empowers female artists. Theater performance promotes health and wellness through body movement and physical exercise performed through rehearsals, dance, and drama, but not in music. And that though theater performance promotes mental health, but use of performance-enhancing drugs have long-term effects on artists. This study therefore recommends that female artists and all artists by implication, should be encouraged to inculcate the culture of wellness as a lifetime activity for optimal health. Use of performance-enhancing drugs should be discouraged by both gender to prevent mental disorder. My contributions to the community. Some of my contributions to the community, I've served in various capacities in the University of Ilorin and I've facilitated some memorandum of understanding and some donations of items. Currently the head of the Department of Performing and PMAT. In other universities, I also made this contribution in Nigeria and the University of Africa. Was the foundation head of department and held some positions during that period. And I've been visiting professor and lecturer to the Pennsylvania State University and the Reinhardt University in the United States at one point or the other. And outside the university community, I have been chairman of NANTAP in Osun State at a point in time. And also one significant thing that I value is that I'm a minister of God, and under the tutelage, under the leadership of Olushola Ajulore, here seated, and Reverend Dr. E.U. Okola, Professor Pastor J. Adeniyi, and Venerable Femi Ulubiyi. I thank you all. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, the major rationale for theater in both local, national, and in cultural relations is predicated on the firm belief that the theater can be one means of healing the tragic situations such as war, hunger, poverty confronting the world. It is unimaginable for theater to die, because the theater will bring great cataclysm to the society. The theater must survive. We cannot contemplate the dangers of Nigeria without theater, not only because it is an essential aspect of life, but it also serves the myriad of functions that make it a necessity for a humane society. The death of theater can be in the theater itself. When theater degenerates into sheer entertainment, show business, emphasizing the licentious and the banal, and obliterating good theater, it becomes comatose. Mr. Vice Chancellor, distinguished guests, I will want to end this lecture by making the following recommendations. Establishment of a performing company. Establishment of a performing company to complement the academic arm of a university and its tight academic schedule is very important. Establishment of a finishing school to enhance the employability of theater graduates as buffer zone between the classroom and the field after graduation is also desirable. Professional theater associations and educational institutions should exhibit proper control in enforcement of rural moral values beneficial to society that will not sacrifice artistic challenge for sheer commercial or pecuniary gains. Professional theater associations should also serve as a regulatory body or as regulatory bodies to address the issue of the liberal art nature of conventional theater schools to enhance, again, the engageability and employability of theater as graduates. Developing a format to bring the conventional and popular theater and the cyberspace new media together in a virtual theater atmosphere is also recommended. Producers, theater managers, artists have to refine their responsibility to the peculiar public nature of the theater profession. There is need for advocacy to foster unity among professional art bodies. There's a strong need to use theater in exploring links and connection within the African diaspora for the preservation of African culture by signing active MOU among theater departments, organizing inter-university cultural and theater competitions, making African cultural studies compulsory for all categories of students in African university curriculum. Relevant government and non-governmental organizations should regularly embark on digitalization of theater production resource materials and cultural festivals, exhibiting them in schools, youth centers, and museums of arts and antiquities to promote and transmit culture. Mr. Vice Chancellor, permit me to acknowledge scores of people who have been instrumental to the journey thus far. First and foremost, I give honor to God the Almighty, my anchor. Permit me to sing this 276 song hymn, a Christian hymn, for this 276th inaugural lecture. I'll just sing the chorus because it's my anchor. It says, we have an anchor that keeps us soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. Fastened to the rock which cannot fail, grounded from and deep in the Savior's love. I appreciate the Vice Chancellor, Professor Wahab Olashukwu Egbewole, SAN, Professor Mujirade Odunolabakare, DVC Academic, Professor Adegboyega Adisafawole, DVC Management Service, Professor Mukhtar Etudaye, DVC Research, Technology and Innovation, Mr. Mansour Adeleke Anfanla, the Registrar, and other management staff of this university for this opportunity. I also thank the Chairman, Library and Publications Committee for his painstaking attention to details. I'm a product of the Oyesho family of Awe and the Anyoshibi family of Irawo, both in Oyo State. I cannot wish for a better source. I express grateful appreciation. My siblings, Sister Funke Adeyeye, a retired matron, Dr. Oyewo, Professor Oyeleke Ogunlade, who's here seated, and Professor Oyewo. I highly appreciate you all and your families. I have a lot of spiritual mentors, fathers, and fellowship that have made significant impact in my life positively. I cannot but appreciate the following: Dr. Olushola Ajolori, Pastor Professor Alaba Shofora, and Deaconess Bosede Shofora of Bible Life Holiness Church. If Apostle Abiodun Oladele, Reverend Dr. E.O. Okmala of Miracle Center and Praise Assembly, Professor Dele Oketayo of Bible Life Holiness Church, Professor Pastor J.O. Adeniyi of Praise Assembly, Pastor Professor E.O. Titiloye, Professor Olayode, Pastor Moses and Pastor Mrs. Dupe Oluwatunwashi, Pastor Femi Olubiyi, and Venerable Femi Olubiyi and Brother Femi Ibinola. I also appreciate the body, the entire bodies that these men of God represent. Bible Life Holiness Church in Ife and Ilorin, Assemblies of Praise International in Ilorin, the Miracle Center of the Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship in Ilorin. I have friends who have been of tremendous help, inspiration, and encouragement in the course of this journey. Thank you, Reverend J. Afolabi, Dr. Afolabi, Pastor Christopher Olaiwola Odetola, Pastor Otumishi, Sheyiwo Miluju was a classmate in Jos, Engineer Dennis Aderito in the secondary school, Engineer Adeleke Adegbemile, Dr. Tunde Adunlami, ironically, was my squattee and when we were in Jos. St. Adeyemi, late Charles Uji, Prince Evangelist Olurotimi Obadare, Tunde Adeyemo, Akin Elijah Babajide, Professor Bade Ogundipe, Professor Umeraji, Abayomi Gbolagunte, and the late Uncle Jimmy Sholanke. I cannot but express grateful appreciation to my in-laws, a family of prophets, the Ojedele family of Ibadan. I thank you all. And the department, my department of theater arts, of performing and theme arts, which was performing the living and the dead. The late Professor Zulu Shofola, Ayobami Akinwale, Ziki Kofulurola, and then Professor Akanji Nasiru, Bode Omojola, Solomon Oziakono Ikibe, Jelil Olasukomi Ojuade, Dr. Samulu Amusha, and Professor S.E. Ododo, Austin Emielu, and the indefatigable Professor Abdurrashid Abiodun Adeyeye. I say thank you for everything. My unalloyed appreciation also goes to my other colleagues in the Department of Performing and Film Arts. The non-teaching staff also merit my deep appreciation. Thank you. I appreciate the contribution of the following eggers from the University of Ilorin for their intervention in my advancement at various times in my pursuit of progress. Professor Olu Obafemi and Professor Abayomi Omotesho. And then the amiable dean of my faculty, the Faculty of Arts, Professor Olalere Adeyemi. And to all my friends in the Faculty of Arts, I say gratis. I express appreciation to my friends from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Professor Adeoti, Dr. Bosade Kogbe, and then from the University of Africa, Professor Demola Jolayemi, Dr. Andribi, Segun Ewata, Donatus Onogbosele, Yusuf Babatunde Lawal, Professor Barclays Ayakuruma, and Dr. Jackson Udo and E. Fawe Uwe of the University of Africa to Rora. I also make special appreciation to my friend and brother and schoolmate in Ejibo Baptist High School, the Alaje of Aje Ulugu in Ogumasho North Local Government, Oba R.S. Amo. Thank you for coming. To my friends and professional colleagues in our association, Sonta, ATMAP is Association of Theatre Managers and Arts Administration Practitioners in Nigeria. Then NANTAP, you are highly appreciated. Ejibo Baptist School, and then my primary school, Baptist Day School, Ukyodo, Iwo. I say thank you. The University of Jos Alumni Association, the Kwara State branch, I appreciate. Thank you very much. And the class of 1980, we appreciate you. The first set of graduates of the Department of Theatre Arts, University of Jos, has only one person standing remaining, and that's Professor Idris Amali. I say thank you. He has been very supportive all this while. I send my appreciation. I seize this opportunity to appreciate some special 51 people. By this time now, Dr. R.J.E. Indom is being buried in his hometown in Cross River State. May his soul rest in peace. He's one of those 51 special people who are special. The other mentors, uncles, brothers, and sisters have been great sources of inspiration in the journey. Professor J.A. Akinyoji, Professor Akonjina Siru, B.C. Ubishina, Professor Taiwo and Tayo Olorun Tobaoju, Bode Omojola, O.O. Nubieledo, Professor Femi Dumade, and others. Lastly, Fumilayo, my wife, my prayer partner. And our beautiful children, Oyeyemi, Oyetunji, Damilola, and Benga, Titilayo, and then baby Olivia. Accept my deep appreciation for putting up with my idiosyncrasies throughout the journey. I love you all. Vice Chancellor, sir, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the death of the theater portends ominous signs for mankind, and proper management holds the key to its survival and ipso facto for a sane society. A world without theater is unimaginable because it spells doom and disaster for mankind. And secondly, because the inherent potential of theater and the intervention of arts management had always come to the rescue to see to the survival and revival of the theater each time it had been threatened. Permit me to break this silence by thanking you all for listening.
On behalf of all of us, we want to congratulate Professor Segun Oyeleke Oyewo for delivering the 276th inaugural lecture of our great university titled Imagine a World Without Theatre and its Realities on the Stage and the Environments in Nigeria. Congratulations. We want to acknowledge and appreciate a few of our guests. We'll start with our scholars. Thank you so very much for coming. We appreciate the presence of the Vice Chancellor of Jaja University, Professor Jelil Olasunkanmi Ojuagbe, a theater practitioner himself. We want to appreciate the presence of His Royal Highness Ọba Reuben Amao Osunbiri Amao One, Alaje of Ajelam. We also recognize the presence of Chief Samuel Ayola Areago of Ajeologo. Thank you for coming, sir. We thank Dr. Olushola Ajolore of the Miracle Center for coming. Professor, Pastor, and Deaconess Alaba Shofurura from Obafemi Awolowo University. Pastor Professor Billy Okuntayo, Engineer Kunle Akinloye, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Moses Oluwatuwase, Reverend Dr. and Mrs. E.O. Okanla, Venerable Femi Olubiyi, Pastor Femi Ibinola, Professor Pastor and Mrs. S. Adeniyi, Professor Pastor Titiloye, and Dr. Mrs. Onile, among others. We appreciate University of Jos Alumni Association, Society of Nigerian Theatre Arts, National Association of Nigerian Theatre Practitioners, Association of Theatre Managers and Arts Administrators in Nigeria, Ejigbo Baptist High School Old Boys Association. We thank Professor Jacob Olusegun Adeniyi. We appreciate Professor Oju Akinraju, Dr. and Dr. Mrs. J.A. Afolabi, Dr. Bosun Adekobe, Mr. Bilomi Agbola, Mr. Yemi Kasali, President 1992 set of all students performing arts. Mrs. Funke Adeyeye, Dr. Yebowale Oyewo, Professor Oyekunle Ogunlade, Professor Oyinka Oyewo, and of course the parents of the inaugural lecturer, Oyewo Onisoro Odewumi family of Awe Oyo State, Abraham Ayinshiji family of Irawo, also in Oyo State. We thank all the virtual participants and we appreciate your attendance. The children of the inaugural lecturer, Mr. Oyemi Oyewo, Mr. Oyetunji Oyewo, Barrister Damilola Ogundele and Benga Ogundele, Ms. Titulayo Oyewo, and of course, the spouse of our inaugural lecturer, Evangelist Janet Fumilayo Oyewo. Thank you so very much for coming. And thank you all for making time to be part of this.
Shall we arise for the university anthem? Very much for being a part of the 276th in the series of inaugural lectures of our university. Please remain where you are for the Vice Chancellor's procession to recess. And we want to thank KBSC. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. We thank all our distinguished professors, members of the university community, and all our invited guests from Oyo State and from all over the world that have come to this place today. Thank you very much. Thank you, the university scholars. Thank you, Professor Adeosun. Now, please remain where you are. Remain where you are. Let's allow our KBS, sir. You're welcome, sir. The Vice Chancellor of Jaja University, Professor Joade. You're welcome, sir. Dr. Aride, Associate Professor Aride, you're welcome, sir. Our delectable twins from the